Spain has always been a super affordable place to buy property. Is it still affordable today in 2025? Have prices skyrocketed? Let's talk about this and much more in today's Costa Insights. Hey guys, welcome back to Costa Insights. We're here today with lovely Kim.
Good morning, Chicken.
So, Kim, today's conversation is about property prices in Spain. You know, Spain has always been seen as a super affordable location for property buyers all over Europe. Is Spain still affordable? Let's start with what it was and what it is today.
What it was to what it is today, two very, very big dividing lines, I would say. Pre-COVID, our prices were quite reasonable. Then after COVID, everybody's expectations of life totally changed, I found. So as a result of that, the demand for property in Spain, especially on the Costa del Sol, it rose dramatically because people could see new forms of being able to live, to work, wanted outdoor space. So as a result of that, our demand for property has gone up through the roof. Prior to that, as you know, I've lived here since 1990. And if I tell you what I bought my first few properties for.
Tell us, come on.
Oh my goodness gracious. So I started with a one-bedroom duplex that I paid, I think it was £14,000.
Wow.
And then our very first house, because we moved to Spain, fell pregnant, husband said, okay, let's be sensible, we buy a bigger property. So we bought our first home. That was then a townhouse for 10 million pesetas, which is about 50,000 pounds. And I'm not telling you what my villa cost me because I'm still in the villa and you wouldn't believe what we paid for it. And so you're going back 20 to 30 years ago. So at that point, prices over here were still very affordable. As you know, again, I came into the real estate game, it was 10 years ago now. But I know that I've talked to people that have been in this business for many years, more than me. And they said that, you know, people would be buying, they'd go to property conventions I'll talk about the UK. And people would be buying 2 or 3 units because they were so cheap. So yeah, prices were very, very low in price, I would say. I think there's been a change.
You know, looking at the real estate market in Europe in general, I think like France, UK, Germany, if you compare prices from 25 years ago today with inflation, everything is going up tremendously.
Totally.
So let's talk about pricing in the last, let's say, I've been in real estate since I'm 18, so that's nearly 14 years.
Yeah.
And when I first started, there would be a lot more supply. So one of the things I've noticed, and I don't know if you agree with this, is one of the reasons prices have increased in Spain, and talking about Costa del Sol, is obviously, you know, all the macroeconomic factors, you know, inflation and so on. But it's also a massive component is a shift from Costa del Sol being a holiday destination to a place for permanent living and, you know, a lot of relocation.
The trend I see is younger people. Like when I first started, the average client was mid-50s onwards because they were looking for a second home. But now there's been such a shift in people saying, well, look, I can live in Spain. I can still be working in Denmark or even America. There are more and more people that are wanting to live here permanently. But you're correct about the supply and the demand. Even with all the new builds that we've got happening here now, the supply on the resale market, it's there's a lack.
If you jump into the real estate market today and you want to buy a property, let's say in, I don't know, Estepona Midtown or Estepona Town Center, no?
Yeah.
And you want to buy something now, the problem is the supply, right? So you're not going to find much available. So you need to wait for that thing to come up. And when you're waiting for something to come up, there's going to be 10 more people waiting with you.
Absolutely.
And that's what makes it difficult, right?
Yeah.
If you have the patience to wait, you generally get a better deal when you buy something under construction.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to tell you something that happened to me this morning. So I was on Idealista preparing for this video, for this conversation. I went onto Idealista and I did sort of a search in the surrounding areas of Malaga, towns which are not as popular as Marbella.
Yeah.
For example, Coín, Guaro, Alaurín de la Torre, which is literally 25-minute drive
Absolutely,
from super good location close to the airport.
Yeah.
Then I went towards Cádiz. And is it possible to still find really decent properties sub, let's say, 350,000 euros? Yes. The way I perceive it is like a heat map. There are areas which are really hot at the moment, and areas which are not as hot.
Correct.
So areas, for example, like Marbella, which are more saturated, is it still affordable? Well, it's still affordable, but it's a lot more expensive.
Yeah.
When you compare apple to apple, I think it's less affordable if you look at areas of Marbella. But if you look at West Estepona and Casares,
yes,
you still get some great value for money.
I was down in the West Estepona area again last week and looking at some resale properties, and I found some really good properties. They were under the 300,000. Right, 300,000 now is an average price for us to be talking about. That's low in price. Say that was, I know, pre-COVID, maybe that price would have been 250.
Totally. For me, like, if in my opinion, Kim, like, if you look at the market and you look at today's like 300,000 euro property, it's exactly what you say. It's like the old 260s, 250s.
Yeah.
And my view on it, and this is what I tell my clients, I don't know if you agree. After COVID, we've had 2 years of 30% inflation, accumulative, right?
Yeah.
So I think all of Europe suffered this. Have property prices gone up? Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
Areas like Marbella, yes. In certain ways because of relocation, a lot of people moving over here.
Yeah.
But we've also seen a plummeting value of money. I always say that real estate defends itself from inflation. It's the best hedge against inflation.
Yeah.
So if you had 100,000 euros in your bank account in 2019, let's say by 2025 you have more than 30% less buying power, right, than you had back then.
Yeah.
So nowadays it's normal that a property price has gone up by 30% if inflation's around the 30%, and that's happened all over Europe, not only here.
There are still people that perceive the Costa del Sol as cheap because of the past history of I'm going to buy my little second home in Spain, and we always joked amongst ourselves, well, if you want something that's lower in price, maybe think about going to Alicante. But I know Alicante market's gone crazy. Alicante is the most amazing place, but I know that prices have actually shot up there as well. So we still have the perception of people that, I'm going to pay, in their mind, 150,000 euros for a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment that's quite close to the beach. But I'm saying, right, okay, so take that property and move it into London. You're not going to pay that. We live in a prime location.
It's
here,
a prime location,
where the way of living here, are there some bargains to be had? There are still, as you mentioned before, there are still the bargain to be had, but you have to be quick to act on them. The perception of Costa del Sol being cheap, I think those days are well gone.
I totally agree. It's over. Like, the days that you came over and you bought a 2-bed, 2-bath apartment, walking distance to amenities for 200K is over. So if you it's over. Sorry, guys.
I know. I think, again, when you see that the lack of
supply,
say a resale property, people are happy. They don't want to be, they're buying their homes and they're happy. And so that, again, is a reflection of how great the life actually is over here. And people, obviously, I'm sure you get it as well, Kian, that people say, oh, when's the crash going to happen? Again, I can't.
So this is a very interesting thing, and I know, like, I love reading all the comments we get on all the different videos that we post. My opinion is, when I started, we were selling all the stock that was left over from the crisis when I started.
That's true. Yeah.
When I first started.
Yeah.
So after when everyone talks about the crash and they sort of want to compare it to 2008.
Yeah.
I say to them, in 2005 to 2008, we had a very toxic market.
Totally.
So like everyone was buying properties with like 90 to 110% finance. So that was a very toxic market. And then when people sort of, when the financial market in the US crashed, and a lot of people got laid off, lose their jobs, they couldn't meet their mortgage payments, and all these properties sort of came back to the banks, and then we had the financial fiasco that Spain was in, right?
Yeah.
In today's market, hardly any of our buyers buy with mortgage. There are a few of them, maybe 40-50% of our buyers buy with mortgage.
I would say so.
But Spanish banks lend 60-70%.
Correct.
So there is a big financial commitment from clients when they buy a property, where they need to put a lot of their own cash into a property. So if tomorrow is a financial crash, yes, if it's a holiday home, the first thing they'll do is sell their holiday home. But if they're here and they live here and they sort of relocated here, I don't see let's say, something like that in the horizon.
The market's very buoyant. There are still more and more people wanting to come over here and buy investments, second homes, relocation. I used to deal a lot with fincas, and the finca prices used to be quite low, but they've gone up dramatically in price.
Like everything else.
I think we are struggling to get those cheapy sort of like options.
Yeah, so I think that's a nice sort of wrap. I mean, is Spain affordable? The answer is yes, but it's not a cheap destination.
Correct.
That's it. Like, there still is value in this market, but if you're looking for a cheap destination, you should look elsewhere.
Yeah.
Because this is not a cheap market.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
So I have something to share with you, Kim. There's a concept that's coming to the coast, which is build to rent.
Okay.
Right? So there are two developers which are starting this in 2025. So developers traditionally build and sell, right?
Yes.
So two very big investment companies at the moment which are going to be building to let and long term. So all these resort style developments that we see that have pool, gardens, like what we sell daily, they are going to be building these to rent. Long term, not short term, long term for residents. And I think this is a perfect way to show everyone out there that there is not enough property for the amount of people who live here. And these developments are focused on, let's say, the foreign nationals who want to come over here in the winter months. Imagine developers investing, 120 million euros in developments just to rent out long term. The view is that this market will continue getting traction as a relocation market, and it's going to continue to grow. I just see our population growing.
Yeah. And
let's see how our infrastructure keeps up with that. That's a different story.
Yeah, that's another story. Yeah, I think something that's very forward-thinking of the developer is that, there's still gap in the market. Then the long-term rental, I think that could be a really great option, provided that the rental it's not going to be too ridiculously high. That's another issue that we have. But in terms of the growth, you just look at Malaga, the amount of large companies that are moving into the area of Malaga, and you've got I can never say the word.
Parque Tecnológico.
Yeah, I say it better in Spanish than in English. Again, that's expanding.
Malaga wants to become like a hub for these companies, though.
Yeah. But then as a result of that, Malaga City.
More tension, more infrastructure, more issues. Yeah. It's a thing that goes on and on and on.
Yeah. I think one thing we can be sure of is that the Costa del Sol is just growing and growing.
So I would like to sort of wrap with this analogy. People think of this real estate market as somewhere that, they'll find a very good opportunity. And that's right, you'll find a good opportunity.
Yeah.
But the way you find the opportunity is preparing. Like you can't, and that's what I tell my clients is you can't expect to jump into the market at any given day and find your perfect property there waiting just for you.
True.
Right? There's more work that goes into it. You need to start working ahead of time, working with agents or agencies ahead of time, and sort of, like I always say, be prepared to pull the trigger when something comes up.
Yeah.
That's it. So like for those people who go, I'm going to go over in March to find a property in Spain. I'm going to go over in October. Yeah, that property's not going to be waiting for you.
Correct.
Like, there's so much demand for this market. You need to sort of be prepared.
Yeah.
So the analogy is, this is like you're going shopping with your cestita or your little bag. Your stock is not going to be on the shelf.
Correct.
This is a shelf that basically gets stocked and taken away daily. So you need to be keeping an eye on that stock shelf.
Definitely.
Daily. Right? That's the way I see it. Kim, I think that's a perfect wrap.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Thanks, and till the next time.
Hasta luego.
Adios.